I, a female teen, have a stepbrother Dean, younger teen. We're not close at all. When I was 7, it was discovered my dad had an affair with another woman, and Dean was a result of the affair. My mother filed for divorce, but due to her not having a large enough income or savings, my dad ended up having custody of me, with me seeing my mum twice a month. After the divorce, my dad married his affair partner, Kim. My mother moved to the UK a few years ago and married Richard. I've since visited her a few times and get along with Richard really well, along with his children. As they're older and have moved out, my mother has suggested that I move to the UK and live with her after my next birthday. According to the custody agreement, that's when I can choose who I want to live with, so I can go to school here. I've agreed and my mother has booked me tickets for this month to fly over. My dad wasn't happy with it, but I didn't pay much attention as I was feeling miserable living with him, Kim and Dean. Dean would constantly say mean things about me, or mostly about my mum, and my dad or Kim would never step up to help. My dad and Kim have decided to send Dean to the UK too, and make him live with me and my mother so she can find a school for him there. However, they hadn't told my mother about that, so she had no idea. I was flying to my mother 2 weeks ago. As my mother booked the ticket for me, Dean and I were sitting separately on the plane and registered separately too. We were meant to have 2 changes. However, as the plane was very late, we only had a little time between the first change. On my way out of the plane, I tapped him on the shoulder and reminded him of the change and how little time we had between them, but he brushed me off and carried on playing on his handheld, so I carried on walking. After I landed in the UK, about 10 hours of travelling in total, and my mother met me, she looked concerned and informed me that my dad had called her angry and blamed me for abandoning Dean in a different country. I've told my mother what happened, so she doesn't blame me, but my dad, Kim and Dean are calling me an idiot as my dad had to take time off work and apply for an emergency visa to go and get him home. So, am I the idiot for abandoning my stepbrother on a plane? Edit, Dean has behaviour problems that are ignored by both my dad and Kim, and it's usually me or one set of grandparents looking after him. I've been flying to see my mum alone since I was 12 and had missed connection flights due to planes being late. I'm not sure if the rules were different then, but I had no issues apart from global issue when it came to visitation and staying with my mum with a tourist visa. All I had to have with me was a passport with a visa, a letter from my dad, my mum's sponsorship letter, confirmation of where I was staying, proof that my mum had enough finances to support me while I stayed with her, and return tickets. Second, I assume my stepbrother had a tourist visa to enter the country, but I can't be certain. I only saw the paperwork from my dad and Kim allowing him to travel. I haven't seen his passport or know what plan my dad and Kim had to get him into the country, as neither Dean nor my dad shared it with me. All I know is that my mother was unaware of Dean coming at all, and it was never discussed with her. If anything else was organised for him, my dad hasn't told us about it. Your father and his partner are sending their child to another country to live with 2 strangers as a surprise? What the bibbidi-bobbidi heck? And somewhere along the line, he gets left alone in some random country? What? My brain hurts. Not the idiot and the sheer audacity of your dad to send his affair kid to live with your mom just because he wanted to is insane. Dean is their child and their responsibility, behaviour problems or not. They can't just post him off to another damn country to live willy-nilly, to stay with adult strangers, especially without even discussing it with them first. Unless I'm missing some crucial piece of information, your dad is a massive idiot for this alone. Am I right that your dad has parentified you and used you and the grands to raise Dean, and decided to send Dean with you to the UK because they didn't want to deal with him without you? He and his wife are massive idiots. I guess I have some sympathy for Dean, given that he has such crappy parents, but that's not your problem, nor is it your fault. Go enjoy your new life in the UK. I've been the sole breadwinner for my family since the beginning. I met my wife at university and she graduated, but she decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She worked for a few years until we got married and she got pregnant. She worked until 2 months before our son was born, but never returned to the workforce. We've raised 3 kids together as a team. We've now managed to get the last one out of university and out of the house. My wife now spends her days gardening, walking our dogs or taking care of the house. Every weekend she takes her parents grocery shopping. She's been doing that for 5 years. My parents are still very independent and do not require my physical help. She also subsidizes her parents' grocery bill to the tune of $400 or $500 a month. I know prices have gone nuts and they are good people and it doesn't affect our budget, so I don't care. My mom recently told me that my dad has been putting off some dental work he needs because it's too expensive, even with their insurance. I gave them the money. Once again, it's not a big bite out of our savings and will not affect our budget. My wife had a problem with me gifting my parents the money. I told her to relax and that it wasn't a big deal. She says it is a big deal and that we should have discussed it first. I asked her when we discussed buying her parents groceries or paying for her parents to come on vacation with us. She got upset and said she didn't realize I was keeping score. I said I hadn't been until she brought up the money. She thinks it's different. I don't think it is. Am I the idiot for telling my wife not to worry about it when I gave my parents $10,000 for some dental work my dad needed? Normally I'd say you are the idiot for not discussing major expenditures with your partner. However, between $500 a month in groceries for years and paying for their vacation, she's easily spent that amount without asking you, so no, not the idiot. She's a hypocrite. So she's been subsidizing her parents' groceries for 5 years now. Cool, so that's about 60 months. Even if you take the lower number of $400 a month, that's about $24,000. Maybe it's my lower income, but subsidizing $400 for 2 people seems insane. We spend $400 monthly on food for my wife and me, formula and baby food and toiletries. And that is at today's insane prices. How much groceries could an elderly couple possibly need that's costing them $400 or $500? Anyway, your dad's dental problems will only worsen if not treated, and then it'll cost a lot more. Everyone's the idiot here. It isn't just your money, even though you earned it. Where money is going should be discussed, regardless of who's spending it and the amount spent. There's a difference between keeping track and keeping score. Keeping track keeps the budget balanced and the financial goals in sight for all parties. Keeping score and using the numbers to justify withholding information is an idiot move. Did you agree to your wife being a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home woman? Do you resent her for not working? Why weren't the groceries and vacations for her parents ever discussed? It might be time for some honest discussions and some therapy. I have 3 girls and we still like to do girl trips for the day. My son got married to a girl named Beth. Now, before her first kids, daughter-in-law was average weight, and after, it got a lot worse. Her only kid is a pre-tween at this point and she hasn't lost the weight. It's bad enough that she needs constant breaks walking. I used to like her and now I don't due to how she acts. Everywhere we go with her, she constantly complains that she's tired. The last girl's trip to the mall was spent sitting on a bench half the day since she needed constant breaks. If you try to leave, she'll go on about abandoning her. It's annoying. I invited the girls to go to a farm for a pumpkin patch and pick some apples. It has big orchards and a ton of walking. We went, it was a great time, and some pictures went on Facebook. I got a call from Beth asking why she wasn't invited. I lied, saying it was just a family trip, and she accused me of lying. I had enough and told her the truth. I told her she wasn't invited due to her weight. She forces us to stop all the time, which ruins the trips most days since we don't get to do half the stuff. She called me a jerk and hung up. I'm getting texts from my son saying to apologise, but the girls are on my side and are sick of having trips ruined since we have to wait for her all the time. Edit, we've done plenty of things that are not physically taxing with her, but even the small stuff, she ends up on a bench half the day. We went to a small mall, half the day on the bench. It was window shopping. She is obese. Her ankles are swollen from her weight. The connection between her weight and not walking far without a break is obvious. We are sick of having trips ruined since we must always wait for her. At the risk of being called fat-phobic, good for you. You're not the idiot. Why should your trips revolve around her? Why should you be forced to plan outings within your daughter-in-law's step limit? Finally, you're free to only invite your actual daughters to things too. You aren't blocking her from any family gatherings. She just got blocked from this one, which I hope is the first of many trips you and your daughters have been putting off for her sake. Get out there and see the world. It's lovely. Personally, I would be extremely annoyed with anyone who asked why they were not invited when I just wanted to do something special with my daughters, and then accused me of lying. Nope, I can understand your response. Beth pushed too hard, so you push back. That's on Beth. Beth was trying to guilt you. Her attitude, more than her weight, will keep her excluded, but I hope her child isn't being left out too. Did you say it was about her weight? You are the idiot. Beth's problem is physical fitness and stamina. This might be related to weight, but making it about her size was an idiot thing to do. Plenty of larger people get on with it. you should have said was that when you go out, she needs a lot of rest and doesn't enjoy physical activities, and while you've often compromised, you did not intend to do this activity. Therefore, she wasn't invited. Instead, you've made it about appearances, which I suspect is also part of the problem for you. So I, 23 female, am an avid shopper, and I love to get things at estate sales in my area. I buy all my designer goods, mostly vintage, so it's amazing quality from them, and they're a hidden gem since barely any people even go to them in my area, so I've been able to find amazing things. I bought so much jewellery and clothes and furniture from estate sales that I later got appraised for thousands while I spent $300 on it max. I've been able to find amazing things for a cheap price. I love decorating my condo with the things I buy and ensuring all my extremely expensive things are kept safe in a storage unit. I will bring them out once I buy a house in the upcoming years. I went to an estate sale this summer and mainly bought clothes and a beautiful vase. I bought it for $40 and it didn't look expensive to me, but another collector friend saw it in the background of one of my stories and asked where I got it from. They said it looked like a vintage vase he'd been looking for. I got it appraised and found out it was worth $3,500. I made sure to get its authentication as well. I did leave it in my bookcase and decided to keep it as decoration, even though I typically put expensive furniture and decor in my storage unit. This week, my boyfriend 30 came over and unexpectedly brought his tween son. He lives in New York City with his mom and he has him during the summer, but he returned to stay with my boyfriend for a bit since his mom just had a baby in the NICU. I didn't mind since his son is nice and has never damaged anything of mine. When his dad and I were cooking in the kitchen, he was watching TV in my living room. Suddenly, I heard a crash and we ran into my living room to see my new vase shattered. His son started crying, saying he wanted to see a book I had on my bookshelf. He saw the vase, thought it looked cool, and touched it, and it fell. His dad reassured him and said it was okay, he'd replace it, and he wanted to ensure he wasn't hurt. I was upset but said it was okay and kept my composure. Later I spoke to him when he came over alone and we agreed he would pay me back. He asked me how much it was and I said it was worth $3,500. He raised an eyebrow and asked how much I'd paid since he knows I always find things at the sales, and I was honest and said $40. He told me he would pay me the $40 and I said absolutely not. Just because the woman who sold me didn't know its true price doesn't mean I don't, and if I ever sold it I would charge its appraisal worth, so he needs to pay me back the appraised price. He's not hurting for money, he makes $800,000 a year. I make $200,000, so I'm not asking him to as if I don't have money, it's the principle. Since his son broke it, he should pay the appraised price. He sent me the money but was upset, saying I was an idiot I got it for so much cheaper. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, his son broke it. It doesn't matter how much it cost you initially. If you said you wanted it to be replaced or purchase one similar, it would cost you $3,500. That is the value of the item and the price your boyfriend has to pay. Insurers would love to be able to pay the initial purchase price for antiques, etc., but have to pay the valuation or replacement price. Why should your boyfriend be any different? Ask him if he would be happy to accept the initial purchase price of his house from an insurer, or if he would expect to receive the present-day market-valued price. I'm sure we all know what his answer would be, so there's no difference, whether it be a house or a vase. I wouldn't even ask him for the money, I'd ask him to replace the actual item. If he can find the same one for $40, good for him. If he can't find it for less than $5,000, it sucks to be him. Or if you light his winning lotto ticket on fire, you only owe him $1, right? That's selfish, dishonest idiot positioning right there. You might want to rethink a relationship with someone who acts like this. The fact that you can both afford this kind of expense means that the question is much more straightforward than it might otherwise be if $3,500 were fully out of his reach. They're bringing in $1 million between them a year and they're bothered about something OP paid $40 for. Everyone's the idiot here. Rich people's problems are so hard. You are the idiot. Avid shopper, not a biz. If I ever sold it, an appraised value aren't the same as for sale or what one could get for it. Can't go wrong treating friends and family like you'd want to be treated, especially a nice kid who took it badly. Regarding principles, this feels like turning a kid's accident into a money grab. Child, vase, accident, tale old as time. If I were the boyfriend, I'd pay for the vase and break up with you. It would be the best $3,500 he ever spent. I, 30 female, am engaged to my fiancé, 37 male. We're both close to our families. His mother had 3 boys and never had a daughter. When my fiancé's brother was getting married, she was not involved in any part of the wedding planning. She never complained or said anything, but also would have enjoyed it. I'm going to pick out my dress this weekend. I was excited and talked to her about it while we were at my in-laws' home on Saturday. I then told her it would mean a lot to me if she came with me. She got teary-eyed and agreed to come. I was so excited to share this moment with my family and the woman who means the most to my fiancé. I was talking to my mother on Sunday, and we were talking about the excitement of going to pick out my dress this weekend. I mentioned I was bringing her, my mom, my grandmother, my sisters, my godmothers, my stepmother, and my mother-in-law. My mom asked why I was bringing my mother-in-law, and I explained I wanted her to enjoy the moment with us and start making memories together since we'd be family. My mom said she didn't want her to come since she felt she'd take away from a moment between her and me. I assured her that wouldn't happen. We argued about it back and forth, and this is where I might be the idiot. I said if something petty will ruin your day or my day, you don't have to go. Then she said, well, who's going to help you get it on and have those moments with you? And I said, any other female figure in my life who's going will do just fine. She got upset and I regretted saying it. I did try apologising, but she's not responding. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Shopping for wedding dresses is already stressful. You should be able to choose who it would be with you. And also, your mother is making the moment that's supposed to be completely about you, about her. It's your moment, not hers. I did the same thing with my mother-in-law, who only had boys and had never had this opportunity despite all sons being married. Everyone had fun. There's not a finite amount of joy in life. You don't run out. Share that stuff around. Agree. I'm surprised your mom has a problem with your mother-in-law coming and not your stepmother. It's so lovely of you to include your mother-in-law. I included my mother-in-law and it only made the moment more special. She didn't overstep or try to take anything from the other women present. When I found my wedding dress and veil, my mother-in-law was the third person I hugged, and we both had tears in our eyes. It was special. Years later, I'm glad I included her.